now 4th largest economy. हमारे सरकार की मेहनत रंग ला रही है. India is ready to become the 4th largest economy of the world, surpassing Germany, which is around about 4.2 or something. We are ready to rock the world. GDP growth अलग अलग एनालिसिस आ रहे हैं, वो काफ़ी अच्छी तरह इस वीडियो में बताया गया है. इस वीडियो में देखते हैं, आप भी देखिए.
भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था में ऐतिहासिक बढ़ोतरी दर्ज की गई है. पहली बार भारत की इकोनॉमी $4 ट्रिलियन के पार पहुंच चुकी है और इसके साथ ही यह दुनिया की चौथी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बनने की तरफ अग्रसर हो चुका है. भारत के $5 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी हासिल करने की दिशा में यह एक बड़ी बढ़ोतरी के रूप में मानी जा रही है. वित्त वर्ष 2023-24 की पहली तिमाही के दौरान भारत की जीडीपी यानी इंडिया की जीडीपी में 7.8% की ग्रोथ दर्ज की गई. हाल ही में ही भारतीय रिजर्व बैंक के गवर्नर शक्तिकांत दास ने देश की अर्थव्यवस्था पर भरोसा जताया था. शक्तिकांत दास ने 31 अक्टूबर को अपने एक बयान में कहा था कि आर्थिक गतिविधियों को देखते हुए कुछ शुरुआती आंकड़े सामने आए, जिससे मुझे उम्मीद है कि नवंबर के अंत में दूसरी तिमाही के दौरान आने वाले जीडीपी के आंकड़े चौंकाने वाले होंगे. कुछ यही 18 नवंबर की देर रात को हासिल भी हो गया.
So India's latest GDP data is finally out. In a world where many advanced countries are struggling economically and facing recession, Indians are flying high, very high. As usual, China, Pakistan, the USA and Europe are carefully observing India's re-emergence. But before I talk about how the world is reacting to India's rise, let's quickly understand how and why India's economy is flying so high that even India's enemies and the colonial criminal states media outlets cannot ignore the growth and achievements of India anymore. According to the IMF's Deputy Managing Director, India is a relative bright spot in the world economy today. According to this World Bank report, India is better positioned to navigate global headwinds than other major emerging economies. According to Ernst & Young, India is expected to become a $26 trillion economy by 2047. As observed here, India emerged stronger from the pandemic than initially assumed, and according to this article in the New York Times, from the US to China, major economies are stalling, but not India. The Guardian published an article which mentioned that India is quietly laying claim to economic superpower status, and according to a recent report by Morgan Stanley, India transformed in less than a decade, and today's India is different from 2013. Observing India's terrific GDP performance, Reuters has reported that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who remains popular after 9 years in power, has stepped up capital spending in the past few years to build roads, railways and new airports to revive the economy after the pandemic. Seeing India's exceptional economic rise, Pakistan's newspaper Dawn had earlier published an article which mentioned that Pakistan has to restructure the economy like India did, or prepare for more embarrassment and tougher terms set by creditors. But as expected, China's tone on India's rise has almost always been full of jealousy and fear, and this article in the Global Times somehow reflects that. According to China's state-affiliated media outlet, India won't overtake China in economy even if it becomes world's most populous nation. Let's take a look at some solid indicators that are causing this economic explosion in India. According to this article in the Washington Post, India's economy is surging thanks to these three revolutions. So what are those three revolutions? The first revolution was a government initiative called Aadhaar. The second is the Geo-revolution. And the third is an infrastructure revolution, which is readily apparent to anyone visiting India. Spending on roads, airports, train stations and other projects has exploded. Government capital spending has risen fivefold since fiscal 2014, and the average construction of national highways has roughly doubled, as have seaport capacity and the number of airports. According to Ernst & Young, which is considered one of the world's biggest accounting firms, there are 8 key enablers of growth that will play a critical role in propelling the growth engine of India. Point 1. IT and Services Hub. With strong services exports at $254.5 billion, India enjoys a strong foothold, especially in the IT and BPO services exports. Point 2. Digitalization. The furious pace of digitalization in the country, including by the government, would result in multiple benefits of improving governance, financial inclusion, and providing a framework for private players to reach new markets and create new products and services. Point 3. India's private debt to GDP ratio remains one of the lowest among large economies. Point 4. Startups have grown remarkably over the last 6 years, with India emerging as the third largest ecosystem for startups globally. Private equity/venture capital investments in India have touched record levels, reaching $82 billion. Point 5. 25% of the incremental global workforce over the next decade will come from India. Are you still wondering why countries like Canada and Germany are so desperate to get India's talent? Point 6. Thanks to the Indian government's Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, the country has the opportunity to move up the value chain through complex, high-value product manufacturing and in emerging sunrise sectors of semiconductors, mobile phones and electric vehicles.
तो देखा आपने, अब बारी है एक्स ओपिनियन की। 3 फैक्टर्स हैं जो मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट हैं, जिन्होंने रेवोल्यूशन ला दिया इंडियन इकोनॉमी में। वो हैं डिजिटलाइजेशन, नंबर 2 आत्मनिर्भर भारत, और नंबर 3 इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बूस्ट। ये 3 फैक्टर हैं जिन्होंने इंडियन इकोनॉमी को ट्रांसफॉर्म कर दिया पिछले 10 सालों में, 2013 के बाद। अगर वीडियो पसंद आई हो तो लाइक, शेयर, सब्सक्राइब जरूर करें और बेल आइकन दबाएं, क्योंकि एक्स ओपिनियन आते रहेंगे हर टॉपिक